So take a look at this right over here. This is the home button. I'm going to go ahead and push that button. You hear that beep? Now, if you take a look in the pool right there, there's the S2 right there. It will begin to move and climb itself up onto the docking station. Docks itself right there on the station. Awesome. Take a look right over here. You see this right here? This is a solar panel. Yes, this uses the power of the sun to charge it. Yes, totally cool. So this right here is the Wybot S2 Solar. Yes, this is one of the coolest robotic cleaners I have tested to date. Now, just like the name implies, this is the first ever cordless solar powered robotic pool cleaner. Yes, now there have been solar powered cleaners in the past, but it wasn't completely cordless. This one is completely cordless. Now, I will say that when this works awesome. I really do love the concept of having a solar powered robotic pool cleaner. With that said, because this is a solar powered robotic pool cleaner, you have to understand that there are conditions that have to be met if this is to work great. Mainly because it is, again, a solar powered pool cleaner, meaning the power of the sun is what charges this and what charges your cleaner. This means that without proper sunlight, you will not have a proper running robotic cleaner. It won't get a charge to run in your pool. Now, you have to understand there are two pieces to this setup right here. The Wybot S2 Solar has two pieces. First off, inside underneath the water here, you can see that's the robotic pool cleaner, the S2 that's sitting inside. On the top right here, this is your solar kit. Connected to this piece down here where the S2 is sitting on, that is the docking station inside of the pool. So two components, the S2 pool cleaner, robotic cleaner by itself, and the solar kit over here. Understand that these two have to work together to have a completely solar powered pool cleaner. Now, the biggest advantage to having a solar powered pool cleaner is obviously the fact that there are no cords here. This works off of this huge solar panel right here, and it works amazingly well as long as you get all the sunlight. So what happens when there is no sunlight? Well, you can put it away and use a different cleaner if you want, but there is a second option. The panel itself also is sort of a kind of balancing docking station, but inside there's another cord that you can hook up to an extension cord that plugs into an outlet. Yes, during the fall and winter seasons when there is less sunlight, you can plug it in directly into a DC outlet and use it that way to charge your cleaner. So you can still use this during the off season. If you keep your pool open all year long like I do, you can still use this, which is great. Summertime, awesome, completely cordless, power of the sun charging the cleaner. During the fall and winter months, when there's not enough sunlight to charge the cleaner completely, I'll just plug it into a DC outlet and I'll get it charged that way. Works great both ways. So let's talk about the Wybot S2 Solar right here and what makes it such a good choice. First off, this Wybot S2 Solar is designed for pools up to about 3,200 square feet, so some pretty big pools. Built inside of this is a 5,200 milliamp battery. And that means that continuous runtime, you will get a maximum runtime of about 150 minutes or 2.5 hours, which is a pretty long time. Now, two ways to charge this. First off, the cleaner by itself, remember you can use this like two devices. Cleaner by itself right here is the little port that you will open up right here. In the box, it will come with a DC charger that you plug in and charge. If you charge it this way, it will take you roughly about 3 hours to fully charge it, which is still pretty fast. Second way to charge it is through that solar panel right back here. Now, if you decide to use this solar kit, the way it charges is a little different. You have to keep in mind that these are two devices. This solar kit over here, you got to think of it as a power bank. So instead of it charging non-stop, what it does is it absorbs the sunlight to that solar panel inside of itself like a power bank, and it stores the power in that solar panel. It's not until the S2 climbs on top of it, docks onto it, that the charger begins to charge the cleaner. Yes, the solar kit will begin to charge the cleaner that way. You have to understand that even with direct sunlight, 8+ hours a day on that solar panel, you will get about 50% charge on the cleaner in one day. This means that it will take roughly 2 days on solar power alone to fully charge your cleaner. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't run your cleaner every single day. You can run your cleaner. It just means that it won't run for the straight 2.5 hours. It'll run for about half before it self-docks itself. Yes, it does dock itself when it needs to charge. When it gets to about the 20% battery mark, it will dock itself and charge itself. Now, in my opinion, and the way that I use the S2 with the solar kit, is you set the weekly timer function. You don't necessarily have to run your cleaner every single day to have a sparkling clean pool. I run my cleaner every 2 to 3 days and it works well with that setup. Love it. If you run it every 2 and 3 days with that solar kit over here, what's great is that you will get a full charge and you can run it the maximum every single day when you get 8+ hours a day. So keep that in mind. Now, physically, the Wybot S2 right here has a small design to it, which I do prefer. A lot of the cleaners now, these premium cleaners, are big and bulky and heavy here. You can see how small this really is. In terms of weight, this comes in at about 19 pounds, so it's easy to put into the pool and take out of the pool. On the front of this here, you have the gripping handle right here. On the sides, you can see it's got track style wheels, which are better suited for steep walls. Lift this up here and show you that it has this dual front scrubbing brush over here. You've got the inlet for the debris to be suctioned into back here and little small brushes on the bottom side over here. Now I'll flip this around right over here to show you the debris basket here. Yes, you go ahead and pull this up here and it reveals your debris basket. This is a dual layer filtration system. So what does that mean? First off, you get this basket right here. It's about a 4-liter, 180 micron filter basket, a fine filter basket. This will capture a ton of debris, a majority of your debris, small, medium, large size debris. However, in this right here, the S2, you also get this little cartridge filter right here. This is a 40 ppi sponge filter. Now, if you're looking for an ultrafine filter, I will say that this is an ultrafine filter, but barely an ultrafine filter in my opinion. A sponge filter is not the same as a cloth micron type of filter like this one over here. Even though this does work to filter out small particles, it's never going to be as good as a micron type of filter. Now, a 40 ppi sponge is more fine than a 180 micron filter, so it does work. It does work as an ultrafine filter to some degree. However, if you get a ton of really small particles, a ton of dust, a ton of dirt, a lot of algae, cloudy and milky water, you might want a even more finer ultrafine filter kit, and this 40 ppi sponge might not cut it for you. But keep in mind, although it is an ultrafine filter system, which I do love and appreciate that it is included, it's not as fine as a micron-based system. Now, built inside of this is a ton of motors and a ton of sensors. You've got your gyroscopes, your infrared sensors, just a lot of smart technology, including smart navigation and preset paths. Now, what this means is that it uses AI algorithms while it's in the pool to see objects in your pool and to avoid them, but it also moves in a preset pattern as it moves along the pool, depending on whether it's climbing the floors or the walls of the pool. One neat thing about Wybot is that on the app, you can select the different types of patterns that it takes while it's cleaning different surfaces. Yes, on the floors, you can set it to clean in an S-like pattern or like a star pattern along the floors. On the walls, you can make it clean like an N-like pattern or an H-like pattern along the walls of the pool. It's really cool that you can adjust the pattern because every single pool is different. What you'll have to do is you'll go and try out different types of patterns and what's best suited for your own pool. So keep that in mind. It's pretty neat that there are patterns you can choose for the cleaner to follow while it's in the pool. So one of the best features of this Wybot, aside from the self-charging, the solar power charging here, is the fact that there is an online app, a smart app that you can use and connect to this cleaner here. On that app, you'll be able to do multiple things. One, you'll be able to access more modes. On the physical cleaner itself, when you power it on, just like this here, once you power it on, right over here, you can select your modes. On the physical cleaner itself, you have this mode button here that you can push different buttons and select different cleaning modes. This one right here with the arrow pointing down and to the sides, this is your walls and floors mode. So it cleans the walls and then it moves to the floor of the pool. Press this again, this pointing downwards, this is your floor mode, just the floor of your pool. And finally over here, with the arrows pointing to the sides, this is your wall cleaning mode, including the water line. On this physical cleaner itself, you have access to 3 modes. So on the physical cleaner itself, you'll be able to access 3 modes. On that online app, you have access to 4 more modes, some of which are pretty cool, like waterline mode, which focuses just on the waterline of your pool. So it moves along just the waterline of the pool to focus and clean just that. It's pretty cool to have access to that many modes. Now, another cool feature about that online app is that you'll have access to a remote control. Yes, with that online app, you can control this cleaner like a little RC car in the pool. You can make it go straight, left, right, whatever direction you want. Now, having a remote control feature is really nice because it lets you target certain areas of your pool. Maybe you have some missed spots in your pool. With that app, you can use it to control it to get to that certain spot and clean that area yourself. On the app itself, there's actually a spot cleaning button where when you push it, it'll move around in a circle and clean that general area. So that's really neat, having a remote control function. Now, the best feature on that online app, and in general, because this is the Wybot S2 Solar version, the best thing to use on that app to get used to is the weekly timer function. Yes, I never thought the weekly timer function could be more important, but because of this solar power and the understanding that on one day's full charge, you get about 50% battery on that solar kit. What's really great is that you can set a weekly timer function on that app to clean certain days of the week. Now, again, you can use this every single day, but it won't get 100% charge from direct sunlight. It takes roughly 2 days to fully charge. What's great about this weekly timer function is you can do a lot of customization. Yes, you can select any day of the week. It doesn't have to be every 2 days, doesn't have to be every day, but any day of the week. Sunday, you can make it run on Wednesday, Thursday, and then skip every other day. Awesome. You have direct control of the days of the week. 2, you can control the exact time for the cleaner to turn on. Yes, before it's every 24 hours, every 48 hours exactly. There's a timer function built in to turn on these cleaners. On this Wybot, on that online app, you can select the exact time. 7:05 a.m., 12:05 p.m., whatever time you want to turn on, you can set the exact time, which is really neat. And finally, on that weekly timer function, what is really cool is the fact that you can select different modes. Yes, one day you can have it clean the floors of your pool. Another day you can have it clean the walls of your pool. And another day you can have it focus just on the water line of the pool. Really, really neat. Really cool to use that weekly timer function. And it works really well with the solar kit. So I talked a lot about this Wybot S2 Solar here. Let's finally place it into the pool and I'll show you how it works. Now, when you first set this up and you have your solar kit extended, you attach your docking station, which is underneath the water here. There are requirements for you to use this setup here. First, you have to have at least about 4 feet worth of water in the pool, 4 feet deep. Second, when you're placing this, it has to be on a flat surface. You can see the solar panel is on this flat surface. It has to be a flat surface. Next, you have to make sure that wherever you place it, you have to have a meter to the right and to the left of this here, or 3.3 feet. I place it right here. You can see I have plenty of room on the left and right. And finally, you have to make sure that there is nothing underneath the setup, meaning no stairs, no ledges, no ladders, nothing underneath. And this is the perfect spot for me. So keep that in mind. When you're setting this up, you have to meet those conditions to set up the solar kit. Okay guys, I have the cleaner on right now. I have it set to floor mode to show you the floors first. So I'm just going to toss it inside like so and let it sink to the bottom. Now, in most cases, you won't be putting the cleaner in this way. Most of the time, it'll already be docked and it'll clean that way. But I just want to show you how it cleans first, and then I'll recall it back to the station to show you that after it finishes its cleaning cycle. So the S2 is in the pool right now. We have it on floor mode. So in this mode, it will focus just on the floors of the pool. You see that right there? I have a kind of tanning ledge right there. It does not climb up that because it focuses just on the floors of the pool. So let's watch this clean the floor of the pool. So if you take a look right here, I've got a main drain right there. The S2 is going straight for it. So let's watch this. Goes over the main drain, kind of turns a little. So it knows it's something there. So let's watch it, see if it gets stuck on this main drain. And there you go. It gets itself off of the main drain there. So it goes on it, may get a little stuck, but it does eventually pull away from the main drain. So that's great. Okay guys, so the cleaner is in the pool right now. I have pulled up the app right here, and I just want to show you that the app works while the cleaner is underneath the water. Because of that docking station, there's some sort of technology where it allows it to communicate to the cleaner while it's underneath the water, which is really, really nice. In the past, there was some sort of tether or some sort of floating buoy. This one just has that docking station to send it signals. So let's try this out here. One of the cool features is this remote control feature right here. So I'm going to go ahead and push that there. And now I can control the cleaner right here. You can see it's moving right now because it's still cleaning, but I'm going to pull it backwards by holding this back button and watch it. You can hear beeps from the solar kit. Now I'm going to stop it, turn it to the left over here. So it should start turning to the other direction. You see that? Moving to the other direction. Now, I will say that it's nice to have this remote control feature to get to the place, but the controls are a little wonky. It's not perfect. And if I try to back up right now, it will work, but it kind of is off a little bit. Wherever it is you're turning, you see that? It does kind of have a delay. It's not perfect. But down here is that area cleaning if you want to spot clean it in that section, so that's neat. Now from here, I'm actually going to switch it to wall mode over here, just like so, and then hit that start cleaning button, and now the cleaner should switch over to the walls. And right here at the start, you can see it climbs all the way to the water line and it scrubs the water line here. Awesome. Now, since I'm here, I do want to mention in the box there are floating blocks. If your cleaner tends to kind of sway backwards in the pool at the water line and float backwards, you will have to install those floating blocks. I do not. I do not have a slippery wall. If you have a tiled wall, most of the times that's when you'll have to install those floating blocks. That's why I'm not including it on mine. I don't need it, so I don't have to install it. But just keep that in mind. If you're wondering what those little floating blocks in the box are, it's if you notice that at the water line, it begins to float backwards. This does not need it. Now here, you can see that it's transitioning from one wall to the next in wall mode. You can see it kind of turn the corner right here and move from this wall on this right side to this wall over here. Watch it climb up this wall now, all the way up here. Just like that. Now, when it does this, obviously, a lot of pool cleaners do this. The corner right here isn't clean, but in general, most pool cleaners, if not all pool cleaners, will not clean that corner of the pool. So keep that in mind. It misses the corners when it's transitioning from wall to wall. Okay, guys, so it is moving from this side over to my tanning ledge side over here. I have a very steep wall right there that it goes up and over. That's the tanning ledge. It's about 4 feet straight up, and it goes over it with no problems at all. You see that? Not only that, it reaches the water line up here as well and gets to the water line of the tanning ledge. So that's great. Here's another angle of it climbing up my tanning ledge. It's a steep 4-foot climb straight up, over onto my tanning ledge, to the water line right there. So it does climb ledges, Baja shelves. So the Wybot S2 Solar here is on my Baja shelf, my tanning ledge over here. It moved from over here to this bigger platform over here. You see all this bubbling at the top here? That just means that it's more shallow than the rest of the pool. Now, I have about 14 inches worth of water on my tanning ledge, and it's able to climb up and move along and clean the tanning ledge. Depending on how shallow your ledge may be, it may or may not climb up. So keep in mind, you need a minimum amount of water for it to climb up and over. In my case, again, this right here is about 14 inches deep and is able to climb up here. So that's good. Now, right over here, this step right here, this is only about 6 inches worth of water. So I know for sure that the cleaner won't climb up this step right here. That's what I mean when you need a minimum amount of water. Okay guys, so I have switched this to waterline mode, one of the coolest modes that you can access on the app. And what this does is, you see that? It climbs up to the waterline, but it moves along the waterline. You watching this? It started up here, but it'll move all along this wall here and clean just the waterline of the pool. This is really great if you have an especially dirty waterline, so it focuses just on the waterline and saves you so much time. Really great on the weekly timer function where you set this to run at least once a week, so you make sure that you have a very clean water line. Now here's another view of the S2 moving along waterline mode. It is totally cool. You can see it moving along the waterline there. So when you're using this cleaner with the docking station and the solar kit, there will be times when this happens. You see the cleaner? It's going to hit your docking station. You see that? But take a look at how it reacts to it. It's not moving around. It's not pushing the docking station, the solar kit around. The solar kit itself, this setup right here, weighs in at 26.5 pounds. So it's pretty heavy. It has enough weight to hold itself down so that it's not moved away by the cleaner hitting it. And I guarantee you, the cleaner will hit it multiple times as it's cleaning your pool. So watch. Right now it's on waterline mode. That's why it's still trying to go this direction. But when it moves around and hits it, it won't knock the kit loose or anything like that, but it should get around it to clean. Now right here is an even better example of the S2 Solar hitting the docking station. Watch what happens when it hits the docking station. It does move it a little. The kit does get moved a little, but it's not to the point where it breaks or it falls off. You can see the S2 kind of climbing on it, but it doesn't really do any sort of damage or anything like that. And it should adjust itself around to get back to wherever it needs to go. It got past the docking station, hit it a few times, but it still works perfectly fine, and it's now continuing along and cleaning this side over here. So when you see it hit the solar kit, the docking station, it's normal. It's designed to handle that collision. Okay guys, I'm done with the cleaner for now. I want to show you that recall home button here. So I'm going to push this and you hear a beep. You hear that? Now, if you take a look in the pool, the cleaner is currently on the wall right there. You see that? So now it should know to go back to the docking station. So let's watch it go back to the docking station. It's getting close to the docking station. Let's see how it gets up there. Now, at this angle, doesn't look like it's going to go straight for the docking station, but it should adjust. Yep, it's going back down. It should adjust itself. At this angle right here, it looks like it might hit the docking station. Yep, look, it's lining itself up, so it's able to adjust. It may take 1 or 2 tries to get to the right spot, but take a look right there. You see that? It landed on that docking station, and that's great. There you go. Now, you can see with that light right down here in the water, it is charging, so that's great. It's connected now to the docking station, to the solar panel back here, and now it's charging itself. Awesome. Okay guys, now that it has docked, let's go ahead and take the cleaner out and empty out the debris basket. Now, to do that, you will have to kind of kneel down and grab it. It's lower than a traditional cleaner that climbs all the way up to the water line, so you will have to reach down a little depending on how high it is for you. But you reach down and you just pretty much just pull it off of the base here. It can float a little bit here. Hold it to the side here, let it drain the water here, and I'll set it right over here. So we'll go ahead and open up this top here, pull out that debris basket right there. You can see all that debris inside, but let me open it up, pour this all out, and take a look right there. All sorts of different sizes, small, medium, large size debris. The 180 micron filter, you can see, picks up small debris. Now keep in mind that I did not use the ultrafine filter sponge. If you choose to, make sure you only use that ultrafine filter sponge on floor mode. But overall, this basket here did pick up a ton of debris here. So you guys can see that the Wybot S2 Solar here with the solar kit here works really well. It is one of my favorite cleaners to date. It's definitely the coolest cordless robotic pool cleaner, and it works off of the power of the sun. Yes, you'll save money on electricity, and you'll just love being able to freely let the cleaner do its job. This will be the least amount of maintenance that you'll ever have to do, as long as it keeps continuing to work. Now, I will say that this technology is still new. In the past, I've used other types of docking stations, and the technology wasn't quite there. This one does seem to be more improved, and it works really well. In the end, with the power of the sun charging this cleaner here, you really don't have to do much except empty out the debris basket. If you're in the market for a type of cleaner like this with very little work, then this Wybot S2 Solar with the solar kit here is definitely a really good choice. Definitely a cleaner here I recommend.
We hope this review helps.